All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the Monday, July 17th, 2023 Board of Condemnation and Blight meeting. It is 2:01 on Monday afternoon, and we call this meeting to order. Approval of, before we do, I'd like to mention that myself, Phil Higgins, is in attendance, along with Sands Cleary and Pat Mahoney. From the public, if I may ask, anyone on the line?
Greg Miller.
All right, Mr. Miller, good afternoon.
And how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Mark Warnard, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mark.
Joseph McCart.
Thank you, Joseph. Sir?
Al Branch.
Al, good afternoon. Do I have an approval of minutes
motion to approve the minutes.
June? All right.
Second.
All those in favor? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to suspend the typical order of business to address those properties for those who have individuals in the room.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, anything from you? No? Okay. Joe, sir, how can we help you today?
I'm under the understanding that there is a hearing regarding the piece of property on 400 Bronson Road, and so I'm interested to see kind of what the status is because, I live there, I'm one of the neighbors there, and we've been struggling with that property for a very long time, trying to, reach the owner, trying to get the owner to remove major pieces of construction equipment, which finally was moved. But the property itself still is in very, very, very bad shape. It's really overgrown. The bushes and the brush is really overgrown. There's a shed that is half destroyed, and we don't know what's living there. We've seen all sorts of wild animals in and out in the area. It's at the point where I'm very uncomfortable having my kids go to the backyard without us being right there with them because we really just don't know what's out there. So it's not really just the aesthetic aspect, it's really we're just now concerned about the safety aspect of it. So I just wanted to, hear what's happening with it.
So we sent a few communications to the owner trying to get them to respond. I believe zoning sent them in a letter about the vehicle as well, which has, as you mentioned, has been removed. We're still continuing to work on trying to get him to take down the shed. I mean, we think it's really basically unrepairable. So we continue to try to, he hasn't accepted any of the letters, but we send him both ways, so we think he's aware of it, but he has made no communication with us. Our only option, if he does not comply with our request, is to cite him, which is a $100 a day fine, which we don't like to do, but, if he's not going to listen to us, if he's not going to respond to us, that's what the ordinance allows us to do. The overgrowth and the trees and stuff that are on the property, the logs and stuff, there's nothing we can do about that. That doesn't fall within the blight ordinance, or there's really no town regulation about overgrowth. And so we really can't do anything about that, but we continue to work on trying to get that shed down and get that out of there.
The interesting piece is that the shed was actually in much better shape before he took over the land. He took half of it down, but he never continued it.
Yeah.
So we were actually a little excited to see that finally there's some movement. I mean, it looked like it was an old shed, but it was it was all together. It was all in one piece, but it just looked old.
And do you have any contact information? I mean, do you have his phone number or anything like that? We just have an address in Stratford that he lists with the tax office in our municipal system.
We know nothing, but I do know that after that person, and I assume it's a he because you mentioned that, but after that person took over the land, I mean, so he basically half destroyed the shed and he cut those big trees, which we couldn't discern why those trees were cut because they were reasonably nice trees, but then just left everything kind of half done.
Yep.
And then part that, so we don't know what the status is, but we clearly have a vested interest. And it's really just beyond the aesthetic. We've been living with aesthetic for a while, but we're just concerned now about just the state of the...
and the board has determined that it meets the criteria for blight, and so that's why we sent him those letters, and we're trying to sort of get some communication with him. But at this point, we believe he's received the first class letters that we've sent, but he wasn't signed for the certified because his first. Yeah, the first class didn't come back on claim, returned with no addressee there, and he did remove that vehicle, so.
Right.
So we think he knows, so hopefully we'll see some action, but we're waiting to make communication with him. But if he doesn't, then we will move to citation, and hopefully we'll send him a letter that says, now you're gonna be fined if you don't take care of it.
And what happens if for whatever reason he just doesn't respond to that?
So the town, with an instance like that, the town does, with something that's like structurally compromised, town has some authority to take down structures. We would try to, obviously we want to work with them and have the property owner take care of it.
Sure.
So
Okay.
that's what we're going to try to work on.
Okay.
Okay.
Go back to the regular order.
Al, anything? Nope,
Just
okay.
here, reporting.
Mr. Miller? Mr. Miller, how can we help you today, sir?
I think you just.
Oh, I'm second now? Okay, cool.
Just, I didn't see any significant change at 20 Morehouse. That continues to be fined at $100 a day, but I didn't have any communication with the property owner, but I didn't see any significant change.
I had met with a family member friend who mentioned that the homeowner has someone who lined up to start removing some of the items behind the fence, but I didn't see anything as of today.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, it did start. There's definitely been some progress on that side yard, clearing that out, but definitely not completed yet.
Correct.
Can I comment?
Of course.
I think, and I didn't place the original complaint on that property, but it's been being fined for 3 years, and it just needs a little bit of brickwork on the front and then that side yard with garbage removal.
That's correct.
Yes,
Yep,
sir.
and I mean, as I've said before, we don't like to be fining him, but that's the only recourse we have to us in the ordinance to motivate them to take care of those kinds of things. The town typically doesn't make, we wouldn't finish that portion of the front porch, nor do we have the authority to essentially take what somebody's private property from the side yard, because he obviously deems that to have some value, but we can't simply go in and start taking things or making improvements to his property. That's the way the ordinance is set up, is that we fine him.
Well, I understand that, but all he had to really do is like put some bricks up on the side of the front of his house and do things. So one of my concerns is, I think it was on 92 Grassmere, that in the minutes from last, people plan to submit a request for a reduction of fines with the town attorney.
Yes, the lawyer that's representing the owner has indicated that he plans to do that. We have not received that request, but that is not, the request to reduce fines is not the purview of this board. That goes to the town attorney and the Board of Selectmen.
So how do I find out about this reduction of fines when people have not been maintaining their property that the board, your board, has deemed blight?
It would be in the minutes of the Board of Selectmen. Is the body that has the authority to reduce any potential fines would be the Board of Selectmen. So the town attorney would be presenting that request to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen would deliberate on that and vote whether to reduce fines or not.
I gotcha. Now, while you have me on the line, can I ask you, it's not on the agenda, but it was in the minutes from June 19th, about 83 Morehouse Highway. There's, in the minutes, it says the building department will complete the final inspection for the roof. Has that been done?
Don't know if they set an inspection. I know I did drive by, I looked at the moss on the front, that was fine. I will have to see if the roofing company scheduled it. I don't know if they did or not.
So right now we don't have that information
I
for you,
don't
Mr.
do the
Miller.
schedule.
Well, I think it says building department, which would be the town of Fairfield, will
Yes, sir.
complete the
I'm
final
looking-
inspection.
I'm looking into that, Mr. Miller.
What's that? I'm sorry.
This is Pat Mahoney, Building Department. I am looking into that, sir. I don't know if my staff went out there yet, if it got called in. What has to happen is the company that pulled the permit would have to call and schedule an inspection, and we would go out and do the inspection. So I have to go back to the records and see if somebody in fact did call and set that up. We have 4 other inspectors, so I just have to do a little research, okay?
Thank you, Pat.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you,
Overall.
sir. Have a good day, sir.
You too.
All right. Going back, motion to return to the regular minutes, or agenda. Any new communications?
Nothing outside of what's related to things on the agenda.
Okay, moving on to condemnation, old business. 92 Grassmere Avenue, as we've kind of mentioned, is now and maintained, is in the hands of the town attorney. I drove by there today, and I believe the structure is actually still becoming worse. The back door, the back roof, the roof is, the hole in the roof, I believe, is actually increased in size. The windows remain open in the rear as well. So,
yeah, so I had the communication with the attorney representing the owner, who said they're still in negotiations for the sale of the property, which they seem to indicate would include demolition of the property. But I asked for a follow-up because if there was any additional information they could provide on movement on those negotiations, because I said in my email, I think I copied you guys that, that's been the same update from the owner for the last several meetings, that he's in negotiations to sell the property, which will include demolition of the property. So I have not received an update from the attorney on that email.
okay.
Did he disclose the buyer?
He did not. I spoke with somebody who expressed an interest in buying it, who had questions about it, but the attorney did not disclose who that particular buyer was. And that same update goes for 280 Tuckahoe, number 8 under blight, is that both properties are being considered for sale. Ray Rizzio.
Oh, Ray?
Yeah.
And just for clarification, this has been being cited since how long?
I don't have that.
April 28th, 2021.
Okay, and do we have an update on the citation to value?
As of the end of June, it was a little over $78,000.
78?
And as you had mentioned, the town attorney has said that the town attorney's office is initiating a foreclosure procedure on the property as well, related to the fine. So I'm not sure which path will happen first, but that's what was happening on both sides, from the owner side and from the town side.
Okay. All right, moving on to number 346 Wakeman Road. I believe states here there's a hearing today. I drove by today, and
Yep.
I believe the tree had been
Yep.
repaired.
The tree, the owner sent me an invoice, and I went out and looked at it last Thursday, and the top of the, had about 15 feet that was dead that we received a complaint about. The owner had that removed, and, cleaned up several other trees in the property. So I would make a motion that this owner has complied, that there's no need for a hearing, and that we can remove the property from the agenda.
I would second that. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I'm sorry, this is Greg. I'm looking at the agenda. What was the address on that?
346 Wakeman Road.
Well, what number on the agenda is that?
It's under number 4, under condemnation, old business.
Oh, I got you. I'm sorry. I was looking a little further down. I'm sorry.
No problem. Moving on to number 5, condemnation, new business. Anything brought before us?
I have none.
None. Number 6, blight ordinance, old business. We've already discussed topic number 1. We have number 2, 155 Granville Street. If you don't mind, I went by there today, spoke with a couple gentlemen inside who were builders. For that reason, I reached out to Pat, and there are valid permits for the work currently being
They
done.
got their permit on 6/2/23 to start the build, and they're doing everything, they're compliant.
Working on the siding
I
and.
spoke with the homeowner, the property owner as well, who believes he purchased the property either in March or April, and that he was unaware of the complaint. But because of the permits, I believe it's all forward progress, and I think I'd like to make a motion because of the permit process, because of the construction, that we actually remove this from the agenda for blight.
I second, because now it'll be in building's hands to do inspections, et cetera.
Okay, as long as, if the concern is always if the work stops, I mean, there's no indication with this new owner or the contractor that it would.
Right.
This is discussion, correct? So the second was Pat, discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the building would bring it back if the construction stopped and we put it back on the
Correct.
agenda
I think,
to follow up with the blight issue.
Now it'll have to fall into us, because we're still waiting on mechanicals. I have building permits for additions, et cetera, so I think this new, they're starting.
Yep.
They do have demo, they gutted it, and they're working on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the owner
do you
mentioned he was an architect, he was a builder, he's done projects in town
Yeah.
before.
The only thing I would suggest is, if part of the discussion is if we just want to wait until the shell is completed, the siding and windows have been repaired, or, it's up to you guys. I mean,
I feel it's an unfair, almost complaint based upon the purchase of the property and the permits and the current construction taking place.
Okay.
That, it remain on the blight agenda only because he was unaware that there was even blight, a consideration of the property being deemed blight.
Yep, I'm just throwing it out there for conversation, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we've done that in the past where once they've pulled the building permit and started the work, we've taken it off the agenda,
And I'll just keep it on my radar.
Okay, so the motion was still to remove. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay. Motion passed. Moving on to number 3, 92 Grassmere, we've already discussed. Number 4, 301 Katona Drive. Scheduled for a hearing today?
Yeah, so this is a hearing today. The property, has some garbage bags and debris strewn around the outside. The main concern is really there's some siding deficits and some, I think I showed you a picture last time of the side of the front steps with a big hole in it, and there's a gap between the house, the stoop, if you will, the front door stoop and the stairs. There's like a 4-inch gap there with a partial rotted board in it. So I just think from that perspective, I think we should probably, it probably does meet the criteria for blight. I mean, I'm not even sure if the property is occupied right now. I've knocked on the door several times. And so we didn't, and obviously nobody's here. Did we get anything back yet from letters or anything like that back on that one?
The only one I've gotten back was, nope, that's
No,
a different one.
okay. So I would say it meets the criteria for blight, and just for the purposes of making those improvements to determine it to be blighted, send them a letter of determination, ask them to clean up and repair the siding. And I've noticed animals going into this hole in the stairwell, and there's a bird nest in the window well next to the air conditioner, and just to have it get some attention, I think.
Yeah, I believe there might have actually been a front window and a little bit of fascia on the front.
I mean, there's rot on some of
It
the.
definitely needs some, I'll second that motion.
So a motion by
Yeah, I'll make a motion
Sam,
that it meets the criteria for
seconded
blight.
by Pat. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 5 was already discussed, Morehouse. Number 6, 57 Rock Ridge Road.
I met with the owners, the sons of the owner today. They're both working on it. There's continued progress there. They got rid of one of the vehicles. They have a trailer full of debris. There's a large dumpster there that they've placed there to place the rest of the debris in. They were both there, both very sweaty. and working on the property. So I would say they continue to work on it, that we carry it forward.
Forward progress.
Yeah, it's forward
All
progress, yep.
I'll agree with that as well. Number 7, 222 Stilson Road.
No change there. I did reach out to Jim Wynn to see if they've submitted anything to zoning, and he indicated no, there's nothing before zoning related to this property. So, it's the roof at that. While I don't see any clear hole on the roof, the roof does have, I want to say a sag in it, right in the area where they did the repair before.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard to determine because there's a lot of tree cover, whether that's a hole. I'm showing a picture to Pat and Phil, whether those are holes or just shadows. It's hard to tell, from across the street, zoomed in, But I can reach out to Mr. Zimini, the owner, to try and encourage him to, take action on the property, and that suggests that, I would suggest that, since he did do some stuff, that at the next meeting we consider citation if it, because it still meets the criteria. It has boarded up windows and doors. It has, deteriorated siding. It has deteriorated roof. I think it still meets the criteria. Oh, sure. Although he's planning to submit to zoning to demo it.
Demo, yeah.
Yeah. So, suggest that, at the next meeting we'll move to citation unless, to hopefully encourage him to move forward on it quicker.
Okay.
Okay.
So the decision is to continue him on with the citations going forward next month.
At the next meeting that we would consider, make him aware that next meeting we're going to consider a vote for citation.
Okay.
He did make a roof repairs. He's communicated with us. He did indicate that he's currently working on plans to submit to zoning, and I think it needs wetlands approval, inland wetlands approval as well. So
That could take a while.
Yeah.
Well, he's starting to work on the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Leave them on. Number 8, we already discussed, 280 Tuckahoe Lane. I went by there today. I didn't see any changes. In fact, the grass was even higher, and I made a decision to stop halfway down and said, I'm not continuing on anymore.
Yeah.
So
the same.
it's currently being cited. Any additional old business? Seeing none. New business, blight ordinance, new business, or new complaints?
No.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.